In April 2021, 12 of Europe's biggest football clubs tried to break away and form their own competition, the European Super League. Within 48 hours, the project collapsed. But the collapse wasn't the end. It was the beginning of a 5-year legal war, one that reached the ECJ, the European Court of Justice, threatened UEFA's authority, and exposed weaknesses in football's legal foundations that nobody saw coming. And in February 2026, the final chapter was written. April 2021. 12 clubs. One announcement that shook football. The founding members were Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Atletico Madrid, and all 6 Premier League giants. The idea was simple: a closed competition for Europe's elite, guaranteed revenue and independence from UEFA. But fans revolted. Protests erupted across England. Politicians condemned the move that prioritized billionaire greed over open competition and sporting merit. UEFA threatened bans, and within 48 hours, the project imploded. All 6 Premier League clubs withdrew first. Atletico Madrid followed. Inter and AC Milan pulled out. Juventus held on until 2024. Barcelona and Real Madrid stayed in until 2026. Publicly, the Super League was dead. Legally, the story was just beginning. After the collapse, A22 Sports Management, the company behind the project, launched a legal challenge. Their argument was simple: UEFA is a monopoly, and that argument eventually reached the European Court of Justice. In December 2023, the ECJ ruled that UEFA and FIFA's rules did violate EU competition law. Not because the Super League was good, not because it deserved to exist, but because UEFA was acting as both regulator and competitor, a structural conflict of interest under EU law. To understand why this mattered, you need to understand what the legal case was really about. This legal case wasn't about tradition, money, or fan culture. It was about one question: does UEFA have the legal right to block rival competitions? Under EU competition law, a governing body cannot control a market, regulate that market, and block competitors unless it meets strict legal tests. The Super League argued that UEFA was acting as regulator, organizer, and commercial operator, all at once. UEFA argued the opposite, that football needs a single governing body to protect sporting integrity, competitive balance, youth development, and open competition. 2 visions of football, one commercial, one regulatory, and the court had to decide which one was lawful. And the ruling shocked everyone. The ECJ said UEFA's approval system was not transparent, not objective, not proportionate, and gave UEFA unchecked power. In other words, UEFA's system was illegal under EU competition law. But here's the twist. The court did not say the Super League was legal. It did not approve the project. It did not force UEFA to allow it. It simply said, UEFA cannot block rival competitions using rules that violate EU law. This wasn't a victory for the Super League. It was a warning shot at UEFA. A reminder that the governing body's power is not absolute and that football's legal foundations are far weaker than anyone realized. Because if UEFA's authority can be challenged, then every major decision in football becomes legally vulnerable. Following the ECJ ruling, a Madrid court declared that UEFA acted unlawfully when threatening sanctions. For the first time, the Super League had legal momentum. Sensing opportunity, A22 proposed a new format in December 2024. 96 teams, multiple tiers, promotion and relegation, and no permanent members. It was designed to look more like the Champions League and to address the biggest criticism of the original plan. But clubs still refused to join. The rebrand failed. The legal victories were real. The sporting support was not. And then the project began to die slowly. Despite the legal wins, the project was collapsing from within. In June 2024, Juventus formally withdrew. Financial instability, boardroom changes, pressure from Italian authorities. The first major crack. In early February 2026, Barcelona announced their withdrawal. They wanted to rejoin the football family and repair relations with UEFA. Only one club remained. On the 11th of February 2026, Real Madrid, the project's most vocal and final supporter, also withdrew. After nearly 5 years of legal warfare, political pressure, and failed reinventions, the European Super League finally collapsed. Not with a dramatic announcement, but with a quiet admission that the fight was over. And that led to the final settlement. After Real Madrid's withdrawal, UEFA and the European Super League company reached an agreement. All legal disputes dropped. UEFA committed to long-term sustainability. Both sides agreed to preserve sporting merit. The war was over. Football returned to its familiar structure. So, could a Super League ever return? Legally, yes. The ECJ ruling still stands. But practically, no major club supports a breakaway. Fan opposition remains overwhelming. The financial risks are enormous. The political cost is too high. The Super League didn't just fail, it became a warning. A reminder that football isn't just a business, it's a cultural institution. And when clubs try to reshape it without the fans, the backlash can be seismic. And that's why this case matters, because it shows how law, money, and public pressure collide in modern sport. The European Super League tried to change football forever. Instead, it changed the law. So the real question isn't whether a Super League could return, it's who will control football when the next battle begins, and who should control it. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to follow the channel for more.